So how y'all doing? Yeah, I'm back. This is my second video, and I just wanted to talk about faith. In the Bible, Jesus Christ says that faith without deeds is dead. Now, I just wanted to give an example of what this could possibly mean. I'm not really going to do a Bible study about it. I'm just going to give my interpretation of what those words mean. So, faith, um, faith would be like having a belief system, like believing in Jesus Christ, that he's actually God that came back in the flesh. Jesus Christ said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. So now we have two different versions of, in my opinion, of the same phrase. Faith without deeds is dead, and if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. So now he's saying that uh, faith faith without deeds is dead. So he's saying that faith in itself is needs action behind it for it to be substantial. And now he's saying that love itself, for it to be uh, for it to be substantial, that you need to follow instructions. So we got a parallel there. We got faith and deeds and love and commandments. And in order to have one, the other one needs to be present as well. So I wanted to give an example of this in modern day life, instead of just going straight biblical. And I didn't write anything down. It's not a freestyle off the top of my head. I had already thought this through, but I didn't write anything down. So if it sounds a little jumbled, then that just know that it's because it's just a natural conversation that I'm having right now. So, and I had already thought about this. So when you think about the NFL, and there's a thing called fans. So there's casual fans, there's super fans, and then there's people that just claim to like a team and don't really actually know any player on that team. Can't tell you the last time they won a championship. Um, can't tell you who the head coach is. Can't tell you what the record is during the current season that you're in. And if you don't know any players, you don't know the record, you don't know the coach, you don't know the accomplishments of the franchise, are you really a fan? Because at the end of the day, a fan means fanatic. So if you're a fanatic of something, that means you have to go crazy over it, or you have to be super, not necessarily go crazy over it, but you have to be super interested in it, and you have to really love it. Like, you know what I mean? If you love me, you will keep my commandments. And this way, if you love sports, you're gonna watch it. You're gonna know. You're gonna know who's on your favorite team. You're gonna know their record, and you're gonna know um, just about the franchise in general. You might not necessarily know the full history of the franchise, but you should know the history of the franchise from the time frame that you were watching it. So, for an example, I know a lot of people who, because I'm from San Diego, I know a lot of people whose parents like the Denver Broncos, and their father liked the Denver Broncos so much that the love for the Broncos bled to them. Now there are some people who actually became a fan of the Broncos because of the fact that their father was a Denver Bronco fan. But when you think about those people, you'll see them wearing a Denver Broncos jersey. You'll see them watching the games. They'll be able to tell you who their favorite player is. They'll be able to tell you when's the last time the Broncos won the championship, or the championship that made them a fan, or the player that made them a fan. And I'm like 27 years old, so the people that I went to high school with, it was because of Terrell Davis, and it was because of John Elway when they won the Super Bowl together. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it's John Elway that played for the Denver Broncos, but I'm not a fanatic, nor am I a fan. And I'll give you another example of someone who their father was a Broncos fan, and I know people like this. So I'm explaining this based off of my experience myself. And I know people whose father was a Denver Broncos fan, but they only knew that their father was a Denver Broncos fan. So if you ask them, do you like sports? They will tell you, I don't like sports, but I have a favorite sports team. And then you will say, all right, so who's your favorite sports team? And they'll be like the Broncos. And they'll be like, but I can't tell you who their quarterback is. I can't tell you what their record is. But they will be able to tell you who their rival is. They'll be like, I know the Denver Broncos don't like the Raiders, or the Chiefs, they will be able to say either the Raiders or the Chiefs, whoever their dad was more against, or the Chargers maybe, and they'll be able to tell you their team that they like and the team that they don't like. I know I see this a lot with Cowboy fans too. Like there will be a person whose dad was a Cowboys fan, and they will be like, "Oh well, I like the Cowboys, but I don't know anybody that plays on the team. My dad was just a super Cowboy fan." Now, if you really think about it, you can say that they are a fan of the Cowboys or they're a fan of the Broncos, but in my opinion, this is just an opinion at the end of the day about this specific topic, but my opinion would be that they're not really a fan because they don't attend the games. They're not an active fan, and that's what the real word I really wanted to get to. I'm glad I was able to say that. They're not an active fan. They might like the team, they might support the team if they might support the team when necessary, like if they're in the Super Bowl or if they went to a random party and people are watching the game and they're like, you know, I've been a Broncos fan, so I'm gonna root for the Broncos. Um, and that's where it goes back to the faith. You could have faith in Jesus Christ. You can have faith in whatever you want to have faith in, but the fact that Jesus Christ said faith without deeds is dead is saying that if you don't have active faith, if you're not actively uh, you don't have to necessarily go to church, but if you're not like evangelizing, if you're not reading your Bible, and if you're not keeping the commandments, what what do you really have faith in? You know what I mean? Like if you're not watching the Broncos play, you don't know any of the quarterbacks on the team, you don't know any of the running backs, you don't know their record. Uh, who are you a fan of? Are you just a fan of an idea, of a concept, or are you a fan of the Broncos? You know? And my answer to that, if you don't know the coach, you don't know the players, you don't watch the games, you, you're not an active fan. And faith without deeds is just saying to have active faith, you need to have active deeds. In order, if you love someone, you will do right by them. And Jesus Christ said, "If you love me, you will keep my commandments," because Jesus Christ has commandments, and he didn't say if you love me, you will find out my commandments. He said, "If you love me, you will keep them," because they're they've been shown in the Bible, and almost everybody knows the commandments. Like, especially if you live in the United States where I live, almost everybody knows the commandments. They used to even have them in schools. Our school system used to have the Ten Commandments like in the hallways. If you walk through your hallway at your elementary school or your middle school, you might see the Ten Commandments. Um, so the Ten Commandments is a part of it, and a lot of people think that the Ten Commandments was just abolished. Like Jesus Christ came and fulfilled the Ten Commandments, so we don't no longer need to do it. We don't no longer need to obey it. And to me, uh, for a long time, I believed that way. So I cannot say that it's straight foolishness, because for me, for a long time, I actually believed that. I actually believed that Jesus Christ came and fulfilled the old covenant, so we don't need to practice the law of Moses anymore. I'm not saying that we have to do everything that the law of Moses explains, but the Ten Commandments is still valid. They asked Jesus Christ what was the greatest commandment, and he said to love your God with all your heart, mind, and soul, I believe. And then he said the second greatest commandment is to love your neighbor like yourself. Um, but if you look at the Ten Commandments, that's what it means. It's literally you have to love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. And in order to love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, you have to keep His commandments. You see what I'm saying? It just all comes back to actions. You don't live by words. You don't have faith by words. You don't have faith by just saying I have faith. Like I used to say that when I was in high school, and this guy that I always speak about him in conversations, he really did have an impact in my life. When you're a kid, you don't realize who's going to have an impact in your life and how great of an impact they have. I know several teachers that had great impacts in my life, and I'm rarely starting to realize that. Yeah, I used to always tell this guy that God got me, God got me, God got me, God got me. That used to be my favorite thing to say. I used to be like, I ain't tripping, God got me. I ain't tripping, God got me. I got faith in God. I used to be like, God ain't gonna let nothing happen to me. Well, the thing about that is that that's that's blind faith. And the Bible doesn't tell you to have blind faith. My dad tried to tell me that the Bible tells you to have blind faith. The Bible doesn't tell you to have blind faith. There is no blind faith in Christianity, because Christianity, you know, you know where your faith is. You know what to expect. You know what you're gonna get out of Christianity. You know what the moral of the story is. There's you're not being blindly led to anything. So we're not supposed to have blind faith. We're supposed to have faith that is built on actions, is built on uh, obeying the commandments. Because if you're obeying the commandments, you're thou shalt not steal. You might not go to jail, but if you're obeying the commandment, thou shalt not steal, it's not about going to jail. It's about you obeying the commandments. If you realize I shouldn't steal from my sister or my brother, even if you know you're gonna get away with it, that's where faith comes in. You're like, thou shalt not steal. God told me not to steal, so I can steal $1,000 right now and be good for a week, but I'm gonna go and have faith in these commandments, you know, and I'm not gonna steal. So that's all I wanted to say, because I've had a lot of discussions with people throughout the years. Faith without deeds is dead. That a lot of people want to tell me that you can have faith and you don't necessarily have to keep the commandments, or you don't necessarily have to evangelize. But if you're not evangelizing, and to if you're a Christian and you're not evangelizing, that that in itself is a red flag. Maybe you're new in your faith, but if you're not, because evangelizing doesn't mean you got to go around the world. You can be evangelizing to your parents, to your best friends. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a stranger. Just preaching the word to people who you believe needs to hear it. Um, that's what I'm saying. If you're not evangelizing and you're a Christian, that's a red flag, because you should be wanting to share the good news. That's why it's called the gospel. You should be wanting to share the good news, because it is good news. It's good news, especially if someone's living on this earth. Imagine if you're the type of person, and I'm not trying to attack anyone, but imagine if you're the type of person who does only believe in evolution, and you don't believe in God, and you don't believe in Christianity, you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you don't believe in heaven, and you believe that when you die, you just cease to exist. How is the gospel not good news in that situation? You know what I'm saying? The gospel is good news. And that's all I had to say. I will be trying to drop more videos soon. I'm gonna try to figure out uh, what format I want my videos to be under. Um, I don't really know if I'm gonna be consistent with it right now, because this is very new to me. I'm gonna try to drop more shorts than actual lengthy videos. I know the lengthy videos is what you need to for the YouTube algorithm, but right now I'm just trying to figure out how to do this moving forward. And I appreciate if you watch this video. I would like you to share it, leave a comment, or leave a like, whatever you want to do. Subscribe to my channel. That would be very helpful for me. And I do thank you for taking your time and watching this video. Thank you.